You're scrolling through Instagram at 11 p.m. Some guy your age just posted photos from the Maldives. Another friend bought their second rental property. Your college roommate is standing in front of a brand new Mercedes with the caption, "Blessed." And you're sitting there on your couch eating leftover takeout, wondering if you're the only person your age who isn't crushing it financially. You check your bank account. $3,700 saved. Is that good? Is that terrible? You have no idea because nobody talks about real numbers. Just highlight reels and humble brags. Here's what nobody's telling you, that feeling of being behind. It's based on a lie. Because the median net worth for someone under 35 in America is $39,000, not six figures. Not even close. And if you understood what that number actually means, you'd stop comparing yourself to people who are either lying, in debt, or both. My name is Alex, and for the past decade, I've been obsessing over the gap between what people think wealth looks like and what it actually is. I've analyzed Federal Reserve data, tracked spending patterns, and reverse engineered how ordinary people build real financial independence. And what I've learned is this: most people have no idea where they actually stand. They're comparing their reality to everyone else's fiction, and that comparison is costing them everything. If you want to stop feeling behind and start building actual wealth, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, because what I'm about to show you is going to completely reframe how you think about money. Here's the problem. We've been conditioned to believe that everyone around us is doing better than they actually are. Social media is a highlight reel of purchase success. Your neighbor's new truck? Probably financed at 8% interest for 84 months. Your coworker's vacation photos? Could be funded by a credit card they'll be paying off for the next 2 years. That influencer's luxury lifestyle? Rented for the photo shoot. But your brain doesn't know that. Your brain just sees the signal, everyone else is winning, and you're losing. Except that's not how it actually works. The Federal Reserve publishes something called the Survey of Consumer Finances every 3 years. It's the most comprehensive look at American household wealth that exists, and the 2022 data, published in October 2023, tells a story that nobody wants to hear. The average household net worth in America is $1.06 million. Sounds pretty good, right? Here's the problem with that number: it's completely meaningless for understanding where you actually stand, because averages get destroyed by outliers. When Jeff Bezos walks into a bar, the average net worth of everyone in that bar becomes $3 billion. But that doesn't mean everyone just became a billionaire. It means the average is lying to you. That's why the median matters. The median is the middle. Half of people are above it, half are below it. And the median household net worth in America is $192,900. Notice something? That's 5.5 times lower than the average. That gap, that massive 5.5x difference, is telling you something critical. Wealth in America is so concentrated at the top that the average is completely detached from reality. If you're comparing yourself to the average, you're comparing yourself to a mirage. But here's where it gets interesting. Net worth isn't what most people think it is. It's not your salary. It's not how much money you make. It's not even how much you have in the bank. Net worth is everything you own minus everything you owe. Assets minus liabilities. Let me make this concrete. Say you have a house worth $470,000. You have a car worth $30,000. You have retirement accounts with $40,000 and a savings account with $10,000. Add it all up, you've got $550,000 in assets. Sounds impressive. But now subtract what you owe. You've got $380,000 left on the mortgage, $20,000 left on the car loan, $15,000 in credit card debt, $5,000 in student loans. That's $420,000 in liabilities. Your net worth isn't $550,000, it's $130,000. And that's the number that actually matters. Now here's what's going to blow your mind. When you break net worth down by age, the numbers reveal something most people never realize: you're probably not behind. You just think you are because you're comparing yourself to people who either started with family money, are drowning in debt to fake it, or literally don't exist outside of social media algorithms designed to make you feel inadequate. Let's start with your 20s. If you're under 35, the median net worth is $39,000. The average is $183,500. Notice that gap again? The average is almost 5 times higher than the median. That tells you there are some people in their 20s and early 30s with serious wealth, usually because they inherited it, sold a company, or got incredibly lucky with early investments. But most people have $39,000 or less. And a huge percentage have negative net worth because student loans and car payments outweigh whatever they've managed to save. If you're 25 years old with $15,000 saved and no debt, you're ahead of most of your peers. If you're 30 with $50,000 in net worth, you're crushing it compared to the median. But you don't feel that way because you're looking at curated success stories instead of actual data. And here's the part nobody talks about. Every dollar you don't spend in your 20s isn't just a dollar saved. It's a dollar that compounds for 40 years. That $2,000 weekend trip you're thinking about taking? If you invested that money instead at 8% average annual returns, it becomes $43,000 by the time you're 65. You're not deciding whether to spend $2,000. You're deciding whether to spend your future financial independence. Let that sink in for a second. Now let's move to your 30s. Age 35 to 44, median net worth jumps to $135,300. Average net worth, $549,600. That gap is widening, and there's a reason. Your 30s are when income starts to climb. You've been in your career for a decade. You're moving up, making more money. But you're also taking on the biggest purchases of your life. You're buying a house, which adds a massive asset, but also massive debt. You're upgrading your car. You might have kids. You're paying down student loans, but not fast enough. So your net worth grows, but slowly. And the people pulling the average up, they're the ones who either got serious about investing in their 20s, inherited money, or sold a business. They're not normal. They're outliers. If you're in your 30s and you have $150,000 in net worth, you're beating most people your age. The rule of thumb says you should have about 1 year of income saved by your 30s. Median household income in America for people in their 30s is around $60,000, so the rule of thumb would put you at $60,000. But the actual median is $135,000. People are exceeding the old rules. That's good news if you're keeping up. It's bad news if you're not, because it means the bar is rising. But here's where the psychology gets brutal. Your 30s are when lifestyle inflation hits hardest. You're finally making decent money. You've been broke or struggling for years. And now you want to enjoy it. You upgrade the apartment. You buy the nicer car. You take the better vacation. You're not being irresponsible. You're just living a little. Except here's the trap. Every dollar you inflate your lifestyle is a dollar that doesn't compound. And the difference between someone who keeps their lifestyle flat while their income grows and someone who inflates their spending to match their income is the difference between retiring at 50 and working until you're 70. Let me show you what I mean. Meet Poor Peter and Rich Richard. I know, terrible names, but stay with me. Both of them are 35 years old. Both make $80,000 a year. Poor Peter buys a bigger house as soon as he gets a raise. He finances a luxury car. He takes expensive vacations. His lifestyle matches his income. Rich Richard keeps the same modest house he bought in his late 20s, drives a paid-off car, takes cheap vacations, invests the difference. 10 years later, Peter's net worth has grown from $100,000 to $250,000. Not bad. Richard's net worth has grown from $100,000 to $600,000. That's not a small difference. That's life-changing. And it all came down to one decision, whether to live like you make what you make or live like you make less and invest the gap. What I'm about to show you next is where the real wealth gets built. Because your 40s are when everything starts to accelerate, but only if you've been making the right moves. Your 40s. Age 45 to 54. Median net worth is $246,700. Average net worth, $975,800. We're officially in the phase where the numbers start getting serious. And there's a reason this decade is so powerful. You're hitting peak earning years. The career you've been building for 20 years is paying off. You're making more money than you ever have. But more importantly, you've been paying down debt for 2 decades. That mortgage you took out at 30? It's halfway paid off. Your net worth isn't just growing from contributions. It's growing because your liabilities are shrinking while your assets appreciate. It's a double effect. And if you've been investing consistently, compound interest is starting to work magic. Here's the math most people miss. If you started investing $500 a month at age 25, by age 45, you'd have around $380,000 at 8% returns. If you started investing $500 a month at age 35, by age 45, you'd have about $90,000. Same monthly contribution, 10-year head start, 4 times the outcome. That's the power of time in the market. And it's why your 20s and 30s matter so much, even though you don't see the results yet. The rule of thumb for your 40s is to have 3 times your annual income saved. If you're making $80,000 a year, that's $240,000. The median is $246,700. People are right on track with the old rule. But here's the thing. Being on track with the median means you're still decades away from retirement. Because here's a number most people don't know. The 4% rule. It comes from the Trinity study, and it says you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio every year in retirement without running out of money. Flip that math around, and it means you need 25 times your annual expenses to retire. If you spend $40,000 a year, you need $1 million. If you spend $60,000 a year, you need $1.5 million. The median person in their 40s has $246,000. They're not even close to retirement. They're barely a quarter of the way there if they're living modestly. And this is where people panic. Because they hit their 40s, they check their net worth and they realize they're way behind where they thought they'd be. But here's what you need to understand. Net worth alone doesn't tell you when you can retire. Someone with $5 million in net worth but a $4 million house and a $1 million car collection has zero income producing assets. They're house rich and cash poor. They can't retire. Someone with $500,000 in index funds living on $30,000 a year could retire tomorrow. It's not about the size of the number. It's about the gap between what you have and what you need to live. That gap is everything. And it's controlled by 2 levers, how much you save and how much you spend. Here's the part that's going to change how you think about money forever. Your savings rate determines how fast you reach financial independence, not your income. Your savings rate. If you save 10% of your income, you'll work for about 50 years before you can retire. If you save 50%, you'll work for about 17 years. If you save 70%, you'll work for about 9 years. Same career length in terms of calendar time, but radically different timelines to freedom. Most people focus on increasing income. They think the answer is making more money. Get the promotion, get the raise, switch jobs. And income matters, don't get me wrong. But here's the trap. When income goes up, spending goes up with it. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it's the silent wealth destroyer. You get a $10,000 raise, you celebrate by upgrading your life by $10,000, and your savings rate stays exactly the same. You're making more, but you're no closer to freedom. The people who escape the system are the ones who increase their income but keep their spending flat. Every raise becomes an increase in savings rate. Every bonus goes straight to investments. They're widening the gap. Now let's talk about your 50s. Age 55 to 64. Median net worth is $364,270. Average is $1,566,900. The gap keeps growing because the people at the top have been compounding wealth for 30 years and it's snowballing. But let's focus on the median, $364,000. The rule of thumb says you should have 5 to 6 times your annual income saved by your late 50s. If you're making $70,000 a year, that's $350,000 to $420,000. The median is right in that range. But here's the reality check. If you retire at 65 with $364,000, the 4% rule says you can withdraw $14,560 per year. That's $1,213 per month. Can you live on that? Maybe if you own your house outright and have no debt. Add in Social Security and you might be okay. But you're not living large, you're living carefully. And if you've got debt, if you've still got a mortgage or car payments, that number doesn't work. You're in trouble. This is the wake-up call moment. Your 50s are when you realize whether the decisions you made in your 20s, 30s, and 40s set you up or screwed you over. And here's the brutal truth. Most people are not set up. Most people are going to work longer than they wanted to, live on less than they hoped, and spend their retirement stressed about money instead of enjoying the freedom they thought they'd earned. But it doesn't have to be that way. And here's why I'm telling you all of this. Because once you understand the real numbers, once you stop comparing yourself to fake benchmarks and start comparing yourself to what you actually need, everything changes. You stop caring about what your neighbor drives. You stop worrying about whether you're keeping up with people on Instagram. You start asking one question and one question only. Am I on track to hit my financial independence number? Your financial independence number is your annual spending times 25. That's it. If you spend $40,000 a year, you need $1 million. If you spend $30,000 a year, you need $750,000. If you spend 80,000 a year, you need 2 million. The number is personal. It's based on your life, not someone else's. And here's the kicker. You have way more control over the bottom number than the top. Cutting your spending from 40,000 to 30,000 drops your target from 1 million to 750,000. That's a $250,000 difference. You just shaved years off your working career by living more intentionally. Now let me tie all of this together, because when you see how these pieces connect, everything clicks. The reason most people feel behind isn't because they are behind. It's because they're comparing their net worth to people who don't exist. The Instagram millionaires, the trust fund kids, the lottery winners, the frauds. Meanwhile, the actual median net worth for people under 35 is $39,000. For people in their 30s, it's $135,000. For people in their 40s, it's $246,000. For people in their 50s, it's $364,000. Those are the real numbers. And if you're anywhere near them, you're not behind, you're normal. But here's the thing, you don't have to be normal. You just have to make better decisions than normal people make. And those decisions come down to 4 things. 1. Pay off high interest debt. Anything above 7% interest is an emergency. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans with terrible rates. Pay them off aggressively because they're bleeding your net worth every single month. 2. Build an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses in a savings account you don't touch. This is your buffer against life. It's what keeps you from going into debt when the car breaks down or you lose your job. 3. Invest consistently in assets that appreciate. Index funds, real estate, things that grow in value over time, not cars, not watches, not stuff that loses value the second you buy it. And 4. Keep your lifestyle flat while your income grows. This is the hardest one because it requires delayed gratification. It requires saying no when everyone around you is saying yes. But it's the difference between building wealth and just looking wealthy. And here's the final piece. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is where wealth gets built. That gap is your savings rate. And your savings rate determines everything. Not your income, not your job title, not what your parents gave you, your savings rate. Because at the end of the day, the only number that matters is this one. How many years until you don't have to work anymore unless you want to? That's financial independence. And it's not about being rich, it's about having enough. So here's what I need you to do. Calculate your actual net worth, everything you own minus everything you owe. Write it down. Then compare it to the median for your age. Under 35, median is 39,000. Age 35 to 45, 135,000. Age 45 to 54, 246,000. Age 55 to 64, 364,000. If you're above the median, you're doing better than most people. If you're below it, you're not broken. You just need to adjust. And the adjustment isn't complicated. Spend less than you make. Invest the difference. Give it time. That's it. That's the whole game. Your future self, the one who's financially free, the one who doesn't stress about money, the one who has options, is counting on the decisions you make right now. Not next year. Not when you get the raise. Right now. Because every month you wait is a month of compound interest you're giving up. Every dollar you spend on things that don't matter is a dollar that could have bought you freedom. What financial topic is keeping you up at night that nobody's explaining clearly? Tell me in the comments. That's what this channel is for. Breaking down the money stuff that matters without the nonsense. And if this video changed how you think about net worth, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. You're not scrolling through Instagram wondering if you're behind anymore. You're looking at real numbers. You know where you stand, and you know exactly what to do next. That's not luck, that's clarity. And clarity is the first step to wealth.